And my name is Lars Gustafsson. I'm a professor in clinical pharmacology at Karolinska Institute, and I have been working on decision support and information system in the drug field for 15 years. I would say this was very, very good. Thank you for being very concise. I think it's an exceptional type of people sitting here, and we are very happy that your European Commission is here. I think now we have all possibilities to move forward in a very concerted action, and I mean, really see that Europe can make a change in this area to diminish the gap between knowledge and practice by using computerized system and good information. So let's have that as our goal. And if Hans-Georg hasn't anything to add, I will go into a short presentation and rapidly update on this e-SPC project and the aims of the group. And this has been prepared together with the board of the e-SPC project that I'm chairing together with Hans-Georg. And thank you, everyone, for input. So I will shortly talk about creating electronic drug information for prescribing in the European Union. And please, next slide. So I think the sailor doesn't ask for a wind, he learns to sail. So how we should try to see how we can progress this in order to diminish this gap between knowledge and practice. Next slide, please. So I will first talk about needs and background and what is SPC, what is an electronic SPC, the aims of this project, aims of workshop, and also summarize with some question to be answered today and also how is the way forward. Next slide, please. This is a summary from the Heidelberg group headed by Walter Heffeli, where you can see, I hope it works now, add the other parts also. Here you see that medication errors in healthcare makes up a potential part of deaths in healthcare system. And you can also see that half of these medication errors that lead to death in healthcare, I mean, this is mainly data from US, is prescriptions. And that you can assess that 70% of those prescriptions errors that lead to deaths is knowledge-based. That means that we need to have a knowledge inherently close to the point of care. So that is an important background why this provision of reliable information on drug is important. Next slide, please. What is SPC? Summary of product characteristics, and what is its limitation? Next slide. It's a text document, and it's approved by competent authorities, by EMEA, and through its CHMP that gives, so to say, a go-ahead for registration of a drug. But it's also used, of course, in the national type of working drug authorities. Then they approve drugs. But more and more, there is a coordination between the national and the European, so to say, approval system. It summarizes the characteristics of do's and don'ts of a drug. So it's a little bit of cookbook help for the healthcare staff how to use drugs based on a product, so to say. And it's addressed primarily to the prescribing physician, and it's intended to guide prescribing. Next slide, please. But the weaknesses of the present SPC is that I would say it may be to exaggerate, but it's close to that truth even today, that nobody ever reads the text-based SPC. There are various ways of simplifying it. So it's an unused and sleeping resource. And I would say the beauty is that you have bodies across Europe, official bodies, and based on information from drug companies that are updated and in a continuous way. And that is, as many of us know, a problem with knowledge databases or drug information or any healthcare information, that it's a hazard and it's a burden to update. But here we really have a system. So that's in the weaknesses, it's not used, it's an asset also. It's not available at the time of prescribing, that is a focus on this project. It's also lengthy and unstructured, and sometimes imprecise language. And there are, of course, that's a major problem, inconsistency in how you express the do's and not do's for different drug products, even within the same pharmacotherapeutic area. So therefore, it's not easy to cross-reference. It is an underuse where it's sitting here as a document when we have a time of the power of the ICT. The next slide, please. So what is then electronic SPC and its potential? I mean, we call it electronic in order to make it easy and also pinpoint that we want that the healthcare system has access to it. Next slide, please. Our vision is that an electronic structured format for the text-based SPC should allow its information to interact with other components of our electronic healthcare system. So it should be put into perspective in other document and knowledge databases that are needed. And therefore, it could be used at point of care. And the idea is that then both SPC and an electronic version that can be used at point of care should be available when you license a drug. Next slide, please. So if we go forward here, there are some more parts in this slide. This is a way of putting electronic e-SPC into a perspective. I mean, we want to have it as a structured drug information. So it can work in electronic healthcare record. It could also connect with electronic healthcare databases. And it can be useful when you order drugs, when you prescribe drug, and that it will be help in decision support system that is much discussed now, and we try to learn how they should be more and more efficient as learning system. So this is a way to see that a structured drug information summarized as an electronic SPC is a key resource for the healthcare system concerning prescribing. Next slide, please. So what are the applications, if you summarize, for e-SPC? It's useful for the individual patient-prescriber interaction, so it supports safe, effective, and economically sound prescribing, and it improves public health. So the next slide, please. So here, again, summarizing how it is in the interaction between physician and patient. So it's a key driver concerning contents in prescribing system. Next slide, please. So when we have worked on the electronic SPC projects, we can't solve that it's easily available, the SPC in all areas. So we have identified some key areas that goes back to the medication areas that should be in focus in improving first. And they include dosage that we have worked on, in particular the Heidelberg group, the pharmacokinetics, but we also think that therapeutic indications, chemical substance, adverse events, contraindication, potentially drug-drug interaction, therapeutic monitoring, and administration. Those are some of the key contents of the SPC that should be first, should be given priority to provide in a useful way to healthcare providers. Next slide, please. So for the healthcare setting, we were first talking about supporting the interaction between patient and prescriber, but it's also of importance for supporting post-marketing drug safety assessment in healthcare system, support effectiveness assessment, and monitor quality of healthcare. And I think we shouldn't underestimate the value to create standards, to stimulate also academic development on knowledge databases. And I think here, this should be a very important part of our discussion today, and how we stepwise can develop this type of standards. Because I think EMEA, together with its sister or brother national registration bodies, has an enormous power to be in the center of a square of standards across the globe. So I think this is important. Next slide, please. So that means that we think it's an important tool in e-health, and therefore it's in focus for the European Commission. And we can go back to this standardization, that it's both around the information structure, it's about terms, it's about codes, and it's categories. I mean, how you classify, for example, the severity of side effects. And also it gives standards of how you should provide information at point of care into healthcare system, because I think we need to explore it's in the interaction between the patient and the prescriber and healthcare staff where things are opening up. So if we have a momentum here, we will gain in other areas. Next slide, please. So what is the aim of the e-SPC project, and what have we in fact achieved? Next slide. So the aims are these, that we are in agreement in the board and in the consortium. Identify EU physicians' need for drug information on a comprehensive level in some EU countries, to have a model how to link needs to what we deliver. Evaluate how this need may be fulfilled by a structured SPC interacting with electronic media. And then provide a well-documented concept and information model presenting the structure and format for the e-SPC, focus on specific therapeutic areas, as I said before. And then pilot and implement the information model in electronic prescribing systems. So these are the aims that we are in agreement on. Next slide, please. So what have we achieved? We have no physical deliverables that easily can be, so to say, used, because this is, as everyone knows, not so easy. You need to work together across countries, but I am very proud that we, in fact, have established, as I said from the beginning, a European network between drug regulators, healthcare providers, and multidisciplinary group of scientists understanding and advocating that this is important. We have communicated the power of the e-SPC, and you have got already this commentary that Simon Maxwell, that couldn't be here today, from Edinburgh, was the key writer on. So that's online in British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology. We have developed a model for assessment of needs that also is online. Next slide, please. And very important, we have provided in the area of drug dosage a model, how what is needed and how it can be constructed in order to improve the access of needed information at point of care. That has been driving mostly by the group from Heidelberg. So in summary, we have no, so to say, physical things that we can put into testing and use, but we have paved the way to do that in the near future, and that's one of the key issues today. Next slide, please. So what would you like to achieve today? Next slide, please. It's up to you what we will gain, and Hans-Geir and I, together with the staff at the EMA, will help that we can get as much as possible out of it. And I know that Dr. Wagner will take things forward, but you will be with us during the first hour. So I hope you have time to give focus on the important issue coming up over the next 30, 40 minutes. We want to explore the needs and expectation of the e-SPC from developer vendors. This was, as said, a meeting where we want to get input and want to know what vendors can contribute so we get forward. We will want also specifically to know incentive and barriers for developer and vendors to contribute to the development of the e-SPC. And finally, we want to explore next steps in this project and critical way to make it happen so we get a very powerful development process going. So next slide, please. Questions to be addressed and action points. Together with some of you, I have tried to summarize key issues that I would like that we consider during this workshop. So the questions, what are they? Next slide. I think we should think, how important is access to e-SPC information at point of care and elsewhere across Europe? I mean, that is, what type of gaps can it fulfill? How can we promptly provide access to e-SPC information and get it to be used, it should be, at point of care prior to having perfect e-SPC information and structure? I think we can't solve everything, but how is it specifically, what steps is needed, what ideas you have to start getting something valuable out? And then thirdly, concept, methods, and tools for stepwise improvement of e-SPC information. I think we have learned from information electronic that is very critical in healthcare. You need to work stepwise because it's a new area, and the aim is really that it helps to improve quality of care, but that you can't be sure because it's information linked to patient data. Then the driving forces, incentives, and deciding bodies for rapid access to e-SPC and other drug information electronically across Europe. The next slide, please. So keep this in mind. Perhaps we can have this as a reminder during the day. So the action point I would like to see that we get together before we close. Initiate prompt access of present e-SPC information for healthcare provider. We know stepwise how we could have an idea, improve e-SPC information. There are some issues how we can get resources to drive this project successfully, and also have an idea for a long-term strategic plan for developing, implementing, and evaluating e-SPC at point of care across Europe. So next slide is the last one. So thank you very much. And this was meant as keeping us up to the same type of level very rapidly. If I was unclear, I'm happy to answer any questions. And we have 10 minutes before the next presentation. So the floor is open. Yes.
Brian Godman, thank you, Lars, for that. Just there's one slide where you put up what we've achieved in terms of publications and presentations. I'm not sure everyone, even of the core committee, is aware of all those 3 publications. So could we have sort of copies available today and electronically for people to have access to? I was thinking Walter's, the one in the British Journal with Robert and Annika's work.
I'm looking at Natasha. Do you think you could produce a couple of hard copies here over lunchtime? So when you come back after lunch, we will have some copies. And of course, we can send them electronically.
Sorry, I think that's a great achievement of what we've achieved so far. So I think, as I say, it would be great for people to see that.
No more comments? Okay, please.
So my name is Gesine Bejeur. I'm from the VFA, which is the Association for Research-Based Companies in Germany. And I really appreciate what you are doing here. And what is interesting for me is how does this fit into the ECTD and into other initiatives like the pharmacovigilance package, where we also have to rehaul the whole information to patients and to healthcare professionals. So is there any linkage between all these initiatives?
Please.
The standard way of answering questions like this is to say this is a very good question. Something I learned while I was a PhD student at Saarbrücken University. It is really a good question, and it's not just one question, it's quite a number and they are difficult to answer. The reason for this is, as many of you will know, is that our first attempt to structure electronically and provide in such an electronic format product information in the form of the PIM project has failed. And we won't go into the reasons for this now. Secondly, and PIM for us was part of the Module 1 of the ECTD for Europe. So we now have a problem number one, and it is not yet clear how that's going to be taken forward. Secondly, there is work ongoing at HL7 for what is known as the next major version of the ECTD, formerly known as ECTD 4.0, which was most likely going to be the regulated product submission, RPS. The way we see that is that for us, any elements of or an outcome of the e-SPC project should naturally end up in there as well, because it doesn't make sense to do things differently in different parts of what is essentially the same regulatory process. The final point is the hardest one, and the reason I have to leave here at 11 is that there is an informal HMA, Heads of Medicines Agency meeting in this building today, looking specifically at problems, issues, challenges of the introduction of the new pharmacovigilance legislation. Specifically, the hardest bit is the Article 57 new, where unfortunately the legislator has created, with all the good intentions, the best intentions in the world, has actually created even more of a problem than existed already in the Article 57 old. Which means is that basically we now have consolidated legislation. Article 57, for those of you who don't know, describes what product information have to be provided by whom and how it has to be stored. And the legislation is now so difficult that it is entirely unclear where does this information come from. There is a totally unrealistic timeline on pharmaceutical companies to provide data on all registered products in Europe. We published on the 1st of July and then on the 1st of September guidance and the electronic structure. The general opinion that we hear from pharmaceutical industry is that it is totally unrealistic to achieve this by the 1st of July 2012. Of course, as a regulator, EU regulator, we cannot say openly that we accept that that's not going to be doable. The Commission would come after us with a big stick or two. So in summary here, the new standards that are going to come out of the ISO work, the IDMP standard is particularly relevant here. Again, I believe needs to feed in the final output from this e-SPC project. For me, the e-SPC project has to become part of the deliverables for the next version of hopefully more successful electronically structured product information. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any more comment? If not, I think we continue. And we are very happy to have a representative from Fraunhofer Institute. And it's a topic of challenges for the automatic extraction of relevant information from